And please welcome Thora Birch. Thank you. Thank you. So you can either whatever you're comfortable with. Director's chair. There's a microphone for whatever works for you. There's a mic for you right there.
Hello, hello.
Perfect.
Steel
Perfect.
City. Hey guys.
Hey.
Thanks for coming out.
Thank you for coming out. This is so awesome having you.
Good to be here.
First time in Pittsburgh?
It is.
Oh, well, welcome. It's a fun city.
Yes.
Wonderful folks here.
Absolutely, for sure.
So if you don't mind, I have a couple questions before we get to the audience. I'm just enamored with Ghost World, one of my favorite movies. But it was Terry Zwigoff, not your typical director. Dan Clowes, a graphic novelist. What was the atmosphere like on the film compared to like other films you worked on? It seemed like it was just a different animal.
Yeah, the tone of the film was sort of the tone on the set, but with a lot more laughter for us off camera. Terry and Dan are Enid and Rebecca in a weird way, if that makes any sense. And Scarlett and I would often joke about that, like how are these two older dudes that are into like weird shit? why are they? How do they relate to these young teenage, adolescent, women of that era? But they kind of encapsulated that it was about the death of a friendship, and so many other things. But yeah, so the vibe on the set was just kooky and odd, but with a great sense of humor. There's just like a lot of laughter about really dark stuff.
Were you familiar with the graphic novels or the comics before you even did this?
When I first read this script, I was also provided a copy of the graphic novel, and I read that first, and just to get a sense of, the world and what it would feel like, and so going into reading the screenplay, I already had a good idea of what they were kind of going for, and I think it made the script easier to understand and read and access and kind of visualize, and I just really, really responded to the character of Enid. I related to her. I felt like nobody else was allowed to say any of the things coming out of her mouth, because those are things that would have been coming out of my mouth.
Were you able to put any improvisation into anything you were doing, or was it strictly script?
Yeah, there was an improvisation on a certain kind of physicality that she had, and also like certain things just were off the cuff, that like the little swaying dance when we enter the graduation party and trying to stab the guy with the pineapple or something like that. Like certain little things like that weren't written in, but I just felt it just came out of me in the moment.
So it was a fairly relaxed set.
Well, I don't know if any set's truly relaxed
compared to others. But
the vibe was relaxed. But it was a relaxed. It wasn't as hectic. But then again, the film itself is kind of slow, contained kind of thing. But the pacing of filming wasn't always that way. No.
And then I'm going to skip ahead to Walking Dead real quick. How familiar were you with those books and the TV series before you got involved?
Ooh.
Okay, we'll get to the questions.
No. No, I was aware of The Walking Dead. How could you not be? But I was unfamiliar with it. I didn't even know that it had been a graphic novel. I didn't know anything about it, really. But when I knew that I was going to be joining season 10, I took a crash course in at least the series, and I got to about... Can you guess what season I got to? 5. That's right. And then I was shooting on it. So yeah.
So would you mind if we get some questions from the folks out there?
Let's roll them.
Let's head right over here first. Right down front.
Hello, Thora.
Hi.
Great to have you with us. Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays.
Thank you. So this is just a 2-part question. Out of all the some of the movies that you worked on, like Hocus Pocus, Now and Then, American Beauty, and Ghost World, which of those experiences do you consider your personal favorites out of all of them? And the second question is, what was your fondest memory of working with Ashley Aston Moore on Now and Then?
Okay. First part, out of those roles, it's hard to, I always get sort of tongue-tied when asked, oh, what's your favorite character, or what was your favorite experience, or which is your favorite movie that you've been in? And I understand the desire or the curiosity around that, but for me personally, it's impossible to choose a hierarchy because of my likes or dislikes about each role, because they're all so different. And sometimes when I had an experience that maybe wasn't necessarily pleasant, I learned so much from it, or it helped educate me in a way that helped me grow and learn how to handle those situations in the future. Also, I relate to almost all of my characters, especially the big ones that everyone really seems to respond to. So I feel so connected to all of them that if I mention one as being like a preference over another, I feel like I'm hurting that other character's feelings. So it's hard to choose. But I would have to say that I was happy that they played some scenes from Ghost World to introduce me, because I do feel that Enid was the closest to me in every way at that time. So yeah, she's got a special little place in my heart.
And before we get to the next question, do you like Bollywood films?
That's how do. I have not seen as many as Enid has, but yeah, I like them. Yeah.
Just curious.
And then what was the? I'm sorry.
The other one was. I'm sorry, I interrupted that.
Well, the second question was, what was your fondest memory of working with Ashley Ashton Moore?
Yes, Ashley. That's right.
There you go.
I think when I first met her, because I landed in Savannah, Georgia, where we were going to be shooting that summer, and all the other girls had already kind of arrived at this hotel called the Homewood Suites, and two of them were already swimming in the pool, and like I was the last to arrive, and I just kind of felt like, oh God, I'm late to the party. And then I met Ashley, and she was kind of sitting off to the side and kind of like looking at the girls in the pool, and she was like, oh, okay, they didn't invite me in, that's cool, and so I went over and talked to her, and we just like struck up a conversation. She was a very soulful young woman, and I she was lovely.
Let's head to the far side of the room over there for a few questions.
Hi. First of all, thank you so much for taking the time to come here. Really appreciated you coming here. So, from Hocus Pocus, because you were a very young child actor, did you know at the time, working with so many, very fond, celebrities, did you think that it was going to be a cult classic right when you were shooting at the time? And what were your favorite, fondest memories you had for all of the cast members?
So when we were shooting Hocus Pocus, first of all, I was insanely excited to be a part of it right off the bat, because Halloween was my favorite and is my favorite holiday. So that was just like a huge win to be 10 years old and running on such a huge set. I think what the expectation was that it was going to be a hit. That it was, nobody, I think, thought, 25, 30 years from now, they're still going to be talking about the movie. We just thought we might have a little, hit on our hands. And then it came out, it was poorly reviewed. It wasn't, well received. The audiences didn't turn up in droves. And so that was kind of disappointing. It was actually quite heartbreaking for a little while for me. But then about 6, 7, 10 years later, all of a sudden just people won't stop talking about it. Every July, people just start talking about Hocus Pocus. And I'm like, listen, I get it. You want somewhere to end, but can we wait a little? But no, it's being a part of that film is a real treasure.
And let's flip to this side of the room real quick.
Well, I'm going to take you back even farther than that to, I believe, the first thing you ever did, a movie that got me into oldies rock and roll. Do you have any memories of doing Purple People Eater, and you were 4 or whatever, And do you listen to any oldies? Because that was what got me into oldies music.
Yeah, I love classic rock. Now, it depends on how old you are, what you consider classic rock to be. So I try not to label it that way. I like all kinds of music. So yeah, I'm right with you on there. Was there another part of the question?
What were your memories? Do you have any memories of Purple People Eater?
Purple People Eater. Yeah, I remember falling into the pool. I remember talking about the dog, Longfellow, and I remember dancing on stage with Chubby Checker. Yeah. That's about it.
It's pretty good.
And Shelley Winters. And yeah.
Question right down here.
Oh, NPH. Right.
Hello, Thora. Nice to meet you. So I did read that you were cast in the new series Wednesday, and that you left that set. Whether you can talk about it or not, I don't know. I've read a lot of stuff, so rather than hearing other things, I'd like to hear it from you, though. So what was your differences in the set then?
Oh, yeah. Well, so basically what happened was like I was cast, and I was there, we were shooting, everything was going really well, and then there was a holiday break, and I left for the holiday break, they had been maneuvering some things creatively around on the show, and things had been changing quite rapidly. And after the holiday break, I was presented with other opportunities, and they were going in different ways creatively. And so I just didn't come back, but it was my time there was wonderful.
Okay, let's grab a few more questions. Right here, right there. You're up.
Hi, Thora.
Hi.
So how was it like working with the Sanderson sisters in Hocus Pocus?
It was great when we were working with them. A lot of our time, a lot of what we shot, it was like either the three kids were working or the witches were working, but obviously we overlapped often enough. And so those times on that set were they were very big, very extra, like the I put a spell on you scene was probably one of the most exciting sequences that we shot, because you had Bet on stage singing and dancing, a musical all of a sudden, and and it was a Halloween costume party, and so I loved every second of that. But you could not stop watching them when they were working together, and sometimes they would improv a little bit more, and Kenny Ortega, our director, would let them riff. And it was just great to see everybody in action, and to see how dedicated Bet was to every little detail of her performance. And I was struck by that.
Okay. Before we get to the next question, I have to ask, how do you manage not to get typecast? Such a wide variety of characters and things you seem to do.
Thank you. Yeah, that's actually hard to accomplish, because sometimes I thought that I was getting typecast, because the scripts that would be sent to me, or people who would want to work with me, they would just want me to do, oh, she's Jane, okay, she's got to play Jane, or like, oh, she's an Enid, all right, she's going to play more of that. So and it's just the nature of the beast, but I think always I tried to make an effort to explore as many genres as I possibly could, because as an artist, as an actor, you want to go in 1,000 different directions. That's sort of the whole point. So yeah, it was an effort. Yeah.
So do you prefer the darker comedy or the more serious things, or just how the script is?
It's the story. Or the character. There has to be some element that I glom onto one way or another creatively, but largely I'm looking for a darn good story. And no, I don't care. I love all genres. I'm not huge on sci-fi for whatever reason, and that doesn't even make sense, because I seem like the person that would be into all that. But yeah, I like everything from drama to broad slapstick bro comedies.
Let's swing over to that far side of the stage and see what we got.
Hello. I was at a convention back in September, and Vanessa Shaw was there, who played Allison. She said she regrets not taking the red hood from set, which she was allowed to have. Do you have anything that you took from the Hocus Pocus set or regret not taking?
Well, I'm not sure we were allowed to take anything. I know one thing I wouldn't have wanted to take, which would have been that darn hat, because it constantly flew off of my head. They couldn't shape it, or my head was so small, they couldn't even shape it around to stay on it without structurally altering the hat in a massive way. So they just kept pinning it or trying to glue it or like all these different things to get it to stay on. So I wouldn't have taken that. What I would have wanted to take would have been the book. I mean, but you know, that's not a very Danny-like choice, I suppose.
We're going to head down front over here.
Yeah.
Look, right here.
Sorry.
Hi, Thora. It's wonderful to meet you. I'm going to ask another Hocus Pocus question,
Okay,
so I apologize. But my friends and I have all like fallen in love with the character of Danny just because her overall like personality is so fun. But like, what was it like acting with, especially at like such a young age, with the character of Billy and also Binks as well, like the cat and then the zombie, because those are two very different characters, but also very different reactions as well.
For sure. I definitely preferred Doug Jones, who played Billy the Butcher, because he could speak. And he was just such a lovely human. And like, every time I see him, I still like, Billy! So yeah, love Doug. The cat, yeah, that's a little bit, you know, Danny loves Binks, and I love that she loves Binks. Thora does not want to talk about Binks. Because there were many, many different cats. Sorry to break anybody's heart. Not a cat person. Oh, I know. Controversial up in here. But no, I think it was because the process was so laborious at that time. We had animatronic puppets. They were working with new technology called something along the lines of CGI, the very early days, and then just actual cats. And so trying to act against something that false and forced at 10 years old was uncomfortable. I felt like messing up my flow, you know? So yeah, that's maybe why I have like a little attitude. But watching the movie, I'm like, Thora, how can you say these things? You know, this is disturbing.
Head over there. We got a couple questions. Right against the wall.
So since when you were young filming Hocus Pocus, during the graveyard scene, did the man scare you at all?
I think what scared me was actually watching the head get kicked off, because I watched them making the head offset, you know, off camera. And so I was kind of familiar with the process that they were going to use. And what scared me was I was really convinced that Doug was going to get kicked, because Doug was in that, but he was below the neck. Like, so the top of his head was the fake neck of the mummy. So I kept thinking that he was going to get kicked.
We're going to stay over there for another question, right in the corner.
Is there any actor or actress or director that you never want to work with again?
Oh, you can't ask that.
We can move on to a better question if you're uncomfortable.
Don't answer that.
I could give you many names and we'd be here for a long time and I'd be sued.
There you go. Good. Let's go on to something brighter. American Beauty. When you first read the script of that, did you have any idea it was going to be such an epic film?
Yep.
How did that happen as far as the audition process?
The audition process was very, very long. I think I was one of the first actors to go in and just have a meeting with the director before even reading or putting anything on tape or anything like that. And then they didn't even have Lester cast, which I thought was strange. I was like, why are they meeting with James right now? Don't they need to, worry about Lester and Carolyn? but he was like, no, Sam has an interesting process. You know, he wants to meet everybody for all the roles and everything. And I'm like, okay, whatever. So I go in, I'll do anything to get this role, right? So I'm like, okay, whatever process you got, let's bring it. And so then I audition, and the feedback is amazing. Everything's like, yeah, you're the top of the list, you know, first choice. I'm like, cool. Doesn't that mean I get the job? No, he's still in his process, which happened to include meeting every actor in Hollywood for everything. And so I was kind of just like always sitting on pins and needles for about 6 months, waiting to get the word of if I have it or not. Meanwhile, during which I'm hearing like, oh, well, they really like this person now. They really like that person now. I'm like, okay, well, do they want me to come in again? I'll come in again. So yeah, but at the end of the day, there was some screen tests, mix of young actors, and then me, Wes, and Mina won in the end of the day.
And when you saw the film, did it hold up as well as when you read the script? Sometimes in people's mind, it looks a little different.
It was different, but it met my expectations, if not exceeded. Hard to exceed because they were quite high. It was one of the most celebrated scripts within the industry at that time, before it had even come out. Like, everybody was like, "Where'd you find this writer? Where'd you find this director? How'd you know?" And Spielberg was behind it, So that was it was a big deal.
What was the premiere like? It had to be quite a spectacle.
We had so many of them. It was back in the day where they would have media tours and you fly all in major cities in the country and some major cities in Europe. So I don't remember like the first actual screening. I remember a lot of them, like certain ones. I know Toronto was a big deal when we the film festival there. We were there. So yeah, there was just it was a different era. Yeah.
All right, let's get a few more questions right down front here.
Just based on your statement about wanting to be in a bunch of different genres, is there like a dream role you wish at some point in your career, you like even before your time as an actress, that you would have wanted to have?
Well, I still think it could happen, but I always wanted to play Eleanor of Aquitaine. From I don't know if anyone knows this old film called The Lion and Winter, but it's a royal family drama. Anyway, it's a great role. I want to play it.
All right, let's grab a few more questions, or not. Anyone have a question? Right back here and right over there.
Hi.
Hello.
Okay. First of all, Dark Corners is one of my favorites, and I don't really have a question or anything to go with it.
No, thank you for bringing that up. Thank you.
am obsessed with it. I love it so much, that ending and the twists and everything with it. So, is there a chance if they came to you and said, we're going to do one more Hocus Pocus, we're going to work with your schedule, we're going to work it out, is Danny Dennison coming, or is it just like a wrap?
All I can say is they hired a writer.
Yeah. And right over here, we have a question. Fire away.
At the end of the first Hocus Pocus, did director Kenny Ortega ever tell you what happened to Ace and Ernie? Or do you have a speculation about it?
God, oh my God. I kind of remember us joking around about that, and I know Larry Bagby, who played Ice, I run into him more than infrequently. And he always is like, yeah, I think Jay and I are still in the cage. Like, they're just like, that's the kind of like, they just left it. That if nobody remembered them, nobody forgot about that, their parents didn't look for them, nothing,
Let's get a couple more questions. You're headed back to your table, or you're doing a photo shoot?
I have photo ops at 2, and then I'll be back at the table around 2:45.
Okay, awesome. Let's get a few more questions.
For sure, yeah.
Hi. I was just wondering, is there any roles you regret not taking?
There were some roles that I didn't take that I can't say I regret, but watching the results made me rethink that entire role or my interpretation of the script at that time. I think also the one that I don't have a regret, but I just wish I had been a little bit more emotionally mature for was Interview with the Vampire. I turned that down because I was kind of creeped out by the idea of like kissing or lusting after an older guy. I was just like, I mean, I got it and everything, and I liked vampires and all that, but that just for me at that time, I just think I was a little too young. But they really, really wanted me, and looking back, I was just like, now if I had been a little bit more, mentally mature, I would have jumped at it, and I think I could have done something interesting with it too. But Kirsten knocked it out of the park, so
We got 2 more questions, one here, one there. We'll go here first.
Do you have any advice for younger actors who are wanting to start in the business?
Yeah, I think my advice would be to, number one, first of all, decide on a scale of 1 to 100 how badly you really want to do that. Is it a need or a want or a desire, and where does it come out of? Does it come out of thinking it's cool or liking the lifestyle, or does it come out of some sort of need to use that as your creative outlet, form of an expression? If you think that performing in any capacity is somehow part of your inherent identity, then you're at 100%. But anything less than that, I think rapidly takes you down to below 50.
One more question down front, please.
So you've been involved with films for so long and got to see so many different team members on the films and their jobs. My question is, in an alternate reality, was there another job part of the set that you thought that would be really cool to do that?
That's a great question. I love the idea of production design. So that, production design, I also like props. Props are fun, but production design is something that is I think, yeah.
Well, thank you for coming out and having
guys.
Give it up
so much.
Thora Birch.
Thank you. You guys were great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So wonderful for having you. I'll take care of all of that. Thora Birch, one more time.
Hi, this is Aaron Ashmore, and you are watching Fandom Spotlight. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe like now. Oh, and have fun and follow your fandom.